Welcome back to Biology 101 with the American BiGuy, a channel on Bi TV brought to you by us. We're here every Friday night laying the foundations of bisexuality and curiously poking around with some of the questions you submitted on askabiguy.com and askatomboy.com. Now, I am your host, the American BiGuy, your friendly American bystander and advocate for the bi community. And I send another warm welcome to all of you bisexual teammates out there on the bi team, whether you are sitting on the sidelines or out there on the field. I also send a special shout out to all you straight folks and gay folks in the audience sidekicking it with us this evening. So let's dig into it. I really did not feel like I wanted to wait any longer to talk about this because as the American BiGuy and as an advocate for the bi team, it's my responsibility to also talk about not only the positives but also the warnings of being in the bi community. And I really feel as though as a black man, it's kind of double layered because we have the whole bi identity and then we have the layer of the black man and also where do we fit in all of this. So this message is for anyone out there, of course, who's listening, but I particularly want to talk to the black community, especially black women, and also, of course, black men, to talk about some things and that we really don't talk about. And so I'm going to talk about pretty much DL, which I hate that term, also trans, and then I'm moving to HIV, and also some of the precautions that you can take to prevent HIV transmissions, and let you guys know also for those of you out there who aren't aware of the medications out there for people who are HIV positive, some of the things that are out there that prevent the transmission of the virus. So let's dig into it. I want to talk directly to black women because what happens with black women are that they are the highest end of HIV transmissions. It makes sense because of the whole DL term, which I hate. Because what's happening is, although PrEP, which is a pre-exposure prophylaxis, which has been out for a number of years now, I think I came across it in grad school in 2013, and then right around, I think like 2014 or so, it really started to pick up. But PrEP is something that has prevented HIV transmissions for like dramatically. It's a pill that you take once a day, and you have to be HIV negative, meaning you do not have HIV, but you take this pill, you go in every 3 months, and you have your blood drawn to make sure everything is looking good, your kidneys in your blood and whatnot, and you get a new prescription. Although transmission rates have gone down with in the gay community because of PrEP, black women and black people really sit at the highest end of that still. I think because many of people in my community have not heard of PrEP or aren't aware of the risk. I think the problem centralizes down to this, and this is why you see Atlanta, I love you, but you see regions like DC where there are a high concentration of black people and there's a high HIV transmission rate, because we are not talking about the concept of bisexuality. We're not talking about this thing. We look at it as like a topic that's like, ooh, girl, ooh, that's, scandalous, salacious. And then the church turns around and condemns it, and also was like the biggest sin out of anything that anyone could ever commit. But I think that we need to have this conversation because what's happening is that we are at the highest end of that rate. I studied in grad school in 2010. I really looked at, this is before the Affordable Care Act got implemented, and it really got under my skin to see that we were always at the highest end. To see the virus transmitting the way it was, but also see that people like me were at the highest end of that. I think that, and like I said, I want to talk to black women particularly. Understand that your boyfriend, your husband, right, sugar daddy, whatever, I'm sure he likes you. I'm sure he's attracted to you. I'm sure you don't have any intimacy issues, possibly, right? And you have convicted yourself to think that this man is heterosexual, which he very well might be. But at the same time, a lot of these men are not really heterosexual, as I always say. They're bisexual. And we see it a lot of times coming out in closed environments. Anyone who knows me knows I've said this time and time again, but this is me formally, putting it on the record. A lot of times when it comes to the bi team, we like to play in the dark. That is a part of who we are. I am not here to take that from anybody. However, with black men particularly, we do a very great job at hiding it and masking it. And the world and our own community looks at us in a way where we are supposed to walk, talk, act, dress a certain way, which is usually always on the end of being masculine and even being so far as to be feared. So where does that leave someone who can check off all those boxes, who is bisexual? That leaves him in a place where he's going to, go into the darkness and exercise it, possibly. Some men don't. Like I said, some men are sidelined, and, maybe they are just kind of like repressing it, and maybe they have different ways of dealing with it, where they watch certain videos, or maybe they, go and, I don't know, like take care of themselves, however. But there's a huge risk there. And we are not talking about the fact that these men who check off all these boxes of what the world looks at as for a black man and also our own community, and these same men go to prison, right? Or they get in a closed environment, and then they're so far as going to sexually assault other men. Now, sexual assault is a whole different thing, and I'm not going to touch that. But what I'm saying is that these men who go to prison, who are not going to be at your local pride parade, right? Who are like, F all that gay crap, bro. Like, I ain't like that, And then when they, all of a sudden they're sexually assaulting other men in jail, or they're going into like, the darkness, and they're going to play or fool around and not understanding the risk that's involved. Bingo, you have the perfect condition for STDs and HIV to do its thing. It bothers me, and it should bother me, and it should bother you too, because I'm a black man, obviously, and I'm proud to be who I am, and I am going to do everything I can to put, my brick in the, building the foundation to make the world a better place, and also for our own community. These black men are very adept at masking this part of who we are. And it looks very different, of course, depending on the person. But oftentimes what you get, and this is also another sensitive subject area, which is trans. And this is where I really wanted to talk to, because just yesterday I kept coming across, all these different trans women. I was just like, what's going on? The universe was just throwing in my way. We're having a conversation at coffee shops, just random places. And I was like, okay, I've got to talk about this. I know it's a sensitive subject, and it's not something that, I'm here to beat anybody up. But a lot of people, are attracted to whoever, right? Like, you just can't help who you're attracted to. My message to you and everyone out there, allow yourself the freedom to like who you like. If you find that you are enamored, or you're infatuated, or you have a crush, or you're attracted to someone who is not someone you usually would expect to be attracted to, it's okay. It's a part of you that you're self-discovering that, wow, do not hate yourself. Do not attack that person. Don't beat that person up, because, they're just living their best life. I always say that we're all like stars in the galaxy, and we all come from, like certain areas of the galaxy. And some people come from some pretty far up distant stars and nobody like to visit, right? People who just do some things like cannibalism, like no offense, but like, yeah, no, that just feels inherently wrong. But I always say we're all like stars in the galaxy. And with that being said, it's our duty to shine as bright as we possibly can, no matter how you may be told that you're not going to fit in or something's wrong with you. And so if you are someone who's trans, live your best life. I am here on the front lines fighting for you as well. I'm also fighting on the end of those men who are attracted to you, and a lot of men are. A lot of men who are attracted to cisgender women may find themselves enamored or attracted to a trans woman. It is okay. First of all, I want you to know that you are damn sure not the only one. And most of the men I've talked to in my research are very much so attracted to trans women. So I think we need to have that conversation about, attraction that people are trying to kick down the road. With that being said, I was talking to one woman yesterday, and she was trans, and she really opened up to me, and she said, I really think that, cisgender women are the biggest threat. And there's something to be said about that as far as that relationship, because I think naturally with women, there's already this competitiveness, and so now you have someone who is obviously who's trans, and then someone who's cisgendered, female, going at it, right? And I don't have I don't say I have all the remedies to resolve the world's issues, but I do think talking about it is the first step, because like it or not, your man, your husband, your boyfriend, what have you, he may very well be attracted to trans women. And there's nothing wrong with that. He just is. So don't be mad at him. Now, if you are not okay with that, that does not make you a terrible person. You are not at all a horrible person. That person's just not for you. But understand that a lot of men are. But also give men the freedom to express their attraction. Because remember, Katy Perry kissed a girl and liked it. right? And for those of you in the 80s, Madonna did her thing, right? So then you have, Lady Gaga still doing her thing, right? Who are out here, living their best lives. And we have Drake singing about girls liking girls and everything in between. And these same community that is, oppressing men for having a same-sex attraction or being attracted to someone that is not necessarily, like what they would expect, are condemning these men, and which forces them into a dark place, right? And for some men, when, that conviction of being bisexual is so strong, they don't know what to do with it. And some men go out in the darkness and play, and some men, ultimately live in, this mental peril, and they never truly get to be who they are, and some even commit suicide. This is a real thing. It doesn't matter. You can be any color and be on the bi team. So that's why I do the work that I do, because I feel it's very important for us to have the conversation, to talk about, what the risks are. Of course, I'm always going to advocate for people like me to be us and to live our best lives, but we're also in the same situation where there are a lot of risk out there. And it's not just in the bi world, okay? Because I always tell people, like, if I didn't take care of who I am, right? And then, like, you go out here, another dude goes and sleeps with the same girl as me, right? And if, say, I had something, then boom, that person's got it. So I think that, you need to, it's not just in the gay community, where HIV transmits, it can be spread to anyone. So we need to have that conversation in a healthy way, and that's what I'm here for. With that being said, I think that PrEP is a great precaution. I've been on PrEP for a number of years now. Like I said, when I first found PrEP, I was in grad school doing my thing, looking at the Ryan White Care Act before the Affordable Care Act got passed. And for those of you out there, Obamacare, okay, before that got passed, looking at different healthcare measures for people who are HIV or AIDS. And then I went to law school, and I didn't go to Harvard, but I was up there like 50 miles from Harvard, and I went to this party, and everyone was just like living their best life. I mean, these students, smart as a whip, but crazy, no offense if the day is long. And I came across this guy, and he was telling me how, he was dating a professor at the university in Harvard, and that professor was, positive. And he said that he wasn't. And even though I had done the research, I was like, well, how is that? He's like, well, we've been dating for a number of years now. And he was a grad student, by the way. And so, because the relationship is very different when you're a grad student versus, being an undergrad. He proceeded to, show me, his results and talk about PrEP. And I was like, how the hell did you get this? This is like 2014 or so. And he was like, what is it? Well, Massachusetts, and I came across it in my research, has always been the leader in healthcare coverage. So they have been giving it out prior to other states. Since then, of course, everyone has PrEP. And we've moved now into an area called Apretude, which is a shot. I was just in Chicago about 2 weeks ago, and I saw it all over the train, all over the billboard, saying rethink your PrEP, which is great, and I'm here for it, okay? I'll probably get on Apretude some point, probably in the next coming month or so, because I was talking to my doctor about it here in Denver, and he was telling me that, it's just a matter of formality, trying to figure out who's going to pay for it, because I was like, well, why isn't it here? I do remember the study being done on Apretude back about 10 years ago. A friend of mine was part of that study, and he was telling me about it. And so, they do what they do usually with drugs in America, wait that 10-year period, right? Which, except for like the COVID vaccine. And we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, so it's out. It's been released to the public. It's actually more effective than PrEP. PrEP is like 99.9% effective, but pretty damn near 100% effective. I think that it's more effective, the Apretude's more effective, because you don't have to worry about daily adherence. That you take a shot, I think like once every 2 months or so, like that, and you don't have to worry about it. And of course, they drain your blood and whatnot, and test you for STDs and all that as well. So there are ways out here for you to protect yourself and live your best life. And you don't need to be bisexual. You don't need to be gay. I always say, if you're going to be a player and hit the field, then protect yourself. And so, to reduce HIV transmission rates across the world, but also specifically in our community, I think that it's my duty to talk about it. Because even though, like, I'm always in the gym too, and I don't see much about, like HIV. I see things about needles and steroids in the gym sometimes, but still nothing about the risk of HIV transmission rates, even in that area where people are like, inject themselves with random things. But I do feel as though it is my civic duty to tell everybody out there, come young, come old, whatever, about the precautions and that we can take in order to protect ourselves. Because remember, there's always going to be somebody who is young and new, who is waiting to go out there and live their best life when they turn 18, what have you, and jump into a community or a world that honestly will eat them up alive. I have met a lot of men like that, young and old. And I really want to talk about something too, and I'll dig a little bit deeper on next time, but it's talking about black versus white attraction. I don't care if we're talking about heterosexuals. I don't care if we're talking about between men. I don't care if we're talking about between women. Black and white attraction certainly has its place in society. And people oftentimes don't really talk about it, but I have a theory because I've been looking at this and I've been seeing trends throughout my entire life. And I'll say this. I don't know why, and I can't really prove it, but when I see a white man with a black woman, great, wonderful thing, do your thing, right? White man, of course, gets pushed back from the black community about your date taking our women. Same thing happens when, a black man dates a white woman, right? Black women start saying, oh, you're taking our man. Whatever. Love is love, okay, whoever you fall in love with. But here's a caveat, and I will say this, and I don't care, because it's true, because I found it to be true in all my years. When I see a white man dating a black woman, I do not dismiss the chance that that white man also appreciates black culture, specifically black men. Now, what that appreciation looks like, it comes out in different ways. It could be just like music, okay? It could be sex. It could be like, our body parts. There could be like a desire there, an attraction. If you think about it, typically speaking, black women, have a little bit more flavor, and how they operate in the culture than most white women. I'll be real with you. I love everybody, I really do. But there's a little bit more aggression. I would say dominance, not aggression. Dominance there. Dominance, perfect word. And a white man that knows how to deal with that is cool, right? He's like, I found a woman, cool. I think it's sexy, everything. He doesn't, question it. The next step after that is a black man. And what I've found, because I've seen a lot of times this happen, where there's a white man dating a black woman, is that there's usually some sort of appreciation of the black man. And I found these men to be attracted and I'm like, wait, what is going on here? And it might just be a curiosity. I don't know. I'm not condemning white men who are attracted to black men secretly, but I've seen it. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just a character trait I'm talking about, because no one's talking about that. I have not come across anything, that talked about white men being attracted to black men, also black women. And it's not like I said, it's not a bad thing. But that also throws it back into the risk, right? For those of you black women out there dating a white man, of the black women being the highest end of HIV transmissions. Because remember, these men go into the dark, which y'all call the DL, and they hit the astral plane and play. Okay, I always call it the astral field, but some things should remain on the field. We should never hit it, but for the most part, some people do, and there's a huge risk there. So however you choose to live your best life, with your partner or by yourself, just take the necessary precautions, because you might find yourself attracted to someone that you didn't expect to be attracted to. And that's honestly the really freaking cool thing about life, is that when you find yourself attracted to someone you didn't think you would be attracted to, you're like, whoa, what is it? It's exciting. It can be scary too. And I think that's why a lot of men attack trans women, unfortunately, because they don't know what to do with that part of them. You understand that it's okay. Allow yourself the freedom to like who you like, and leave it at that. It's what makes you unique. It's what the universe gave you in your DNA. And I'm just here to help you celebrate it and also protect yourself, because there are vultures and they're very bad people in the world. I just saw a meme the other day of some black guy who was like he gave a number of women HIV. And then when they told him, he's like, oh, it's no big deal. He knew what he was doing. So, yeah. Also, there are medications out there for people who are HIV positive, and you see it all the time being run. I have a friend of mine who told me this. He said that, he's like, yes, he has a virus, but he says he thinks of it like this. He has a machine, but the medicine keeps the machine from working. The medicine out there that helps people who are HIV positive is so effective now that you can't transmit HIV through traditional sex. So there are certainly things out there. So if you do meet someone who is HIV positive, you don't have to be like, oh, I don't want to touch you, X, Y, Z, this, that, and the third. No, like as long as they're taking care of themselves and they have a shot too, they have a number of things out there for people. I see the commercials all the time to help people who are HIV positive live their best life. So understand that there are certain things out there to protect you. We're on a new day and age, and it's my responsibility to also promote, the acceptance, the awareness, but also the ways to protect yourself as you go out there and live your best life. I'll see you guys next time.